And welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to start the beginnings of doing our dandelion wine. So I figured we'd come out here. It is a beautiful day, the warmest we've had. I think it's in the high 60s, close to the 70s. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go out and pick our dandelions. Now the dandelions, you want to make sure that you pick some place that, one, there's no pesticides or things like that, and two, that it's not too close to the road. If it's close to the road, all the splash from the salt that they use on the roads and that are going to be all over the grass, and that's going to affect the dandelions. So I have my little basket. I've already got enough dandelions for the wine, but I figure I'd go ahead and start picking some for this year, and we'll get started. When you pick your dandelion, I put my fingers underneath and I pop it up. You don't want the stem. We're actually going to just use the yellow. We're going to be cutting as much of the green off as possible. So it takes a lot more. I've heard that you can do them with the stems as well, but it's supposed to give it much more of a bitter flavor. What I actually want to do is I want to do some small batches. And I thought it would be neat, what would be really neat, depending on how many dandelions I get as well, is to try it different ways. Maybe try a small batch with the stem, well, with the green with it, and try one without it. I mean, there's some where they put the orange and the zest in. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do it. Guys, so we have all of our, wow, it's really windy. That's my wind chimes. So we have our basket of flowers. I don't have a lot, I just got enough a little bit to show you what we're doing with it. So we got that, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to clean them off. So I'll put it in a colander and run water through all of them and clean them all up. So after we do that, we'll cut off as much of the green as we can. So we'll take it here and we'll cut it off. When you're all done, you're going to need at least a quart to 2 quarts for a decent sized batch. Now this here is actually a quart jar, but this quart jar has about 5 quarts worth, because like if you're picking them and cutting them, they can be loose in there, and like 2 loose quart sizes would be fine. But this is literally packed into one, so this is enough to do a couple batches of wine. So as you can see, you won't see hardly any of the green. I may try doing a small batch with it on there just to see what the difference is. So we'll just go to the next step. So I took my basket and I put all my flowers in the colander, and I have rinsed them all off really well so that they are ready to go. I'm going to take the dandelions, we're going to hold them where we get as much of that green as possible, and we'll cut it off, and we're going to hold on to the yellow. This is the only thing about them that is the bad part, is, let's see, you can see. That's the only part that's the bad part, is the time that it takes, because I don't want the stem and I don't want the green. Wrong way. And it's okay if you get a tiny bit in there, it's not going to hurt. But I do have some, like I said, I have some that actually have all the green and everything on them, except the stem. And I may possibly do something with that, just to test. Probably a small batch. It's supposed to be a little bit more bitter. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do this, and I will catch up with you. I have a pretty good amount here already. And this will I'll probably dry this out and use this later, because I already have enough for now. I just figured I'd share this with you. I've let it dry out some, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brown paper bag. I'm going to put the rest of it in there. Into the bag. I'm going to put this in a cool, dry place. So I'll put it in my basement where it's dark. Fold it down. And you just got to go down there. I usually go a couple times a day and just go down there and shake them up so that they don't stick to each other. And they will dry by themselves. But it has to be a paper bag. So this is what I do sometimes when I can't completely get it dried out. But once it's dry from washing it, then I stick it in here because it needs to dehydrate the rest of the water that's inside the flour. So that way it's a complete dry out flour. And when it's like that, it'll last longer and you can seal it up and still use it later. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am starting my dandelion wine, and I'm really excited because I've been wanting to do this, and I just I don't know, it just seems like it's the last thing that ends up happening. So I figured I'd just go ahead and get started tonight because the first part of the process, it's got to sit for a few days, and then you've got the second part, and then it sits down in the basement area for 6 weeks. So I figured I'd go ahead and get started. So the first thing I am doing, I've got my gallon of water, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this to a boil. I've got you want to have 2 quarts of dandelions. I have mine just like I did in the previous section here. Cut them off. These are actually all dried. This is actually about 5 quarts of dandelions crushed into here that have been dried. So this is actually enough to do a couple gallons. So I'm just going to do like half of them in this one. But the first thing that we are going to do is I am going to start with boiling my gallon of water. So my water has come to a boil, and I have my 2 quarts of dandelion in here, and I'm just going to steep it with the hot water. I'm just going to let it steep in there. I've poured it over top of my dandelion, and I'm just going to let it sit for 3 days. So I'm just going to put my lid on it. And I'm just going to let it sit for 3 days. So it's that simple. So it has been 3 days of my dandelion steeping. So I have it right here. Not the most beautiful looking, but and I'm sure you're noticing that I'm missing curtains and things. I'm actually spring cleaning today. What we are going to do is we are going to strain out all the actual dandelion flowers. And hopefully I don't have any problems. Seems like every time I do this I have issues trying to hold on to the thing. So So what I have left is the dandelion flowers, and I'm going to squeeze all the juice out of there. Now that that's done, the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add 9 cups of sugar. And I've actually already got mine measured out. going to mix mine in a little bit. I just want to have it nice and mixed in there some. Okay. Now the next thing that we need is 3 lemons. And you can use 4 oranges, but I'm using 2 because these are massive oranges. So what we're going to do next is we're going to add all the zest and the actual juice from the oranges and the lemons into the mixture. So I've got my little grater. I'm just going to... Okay, next we are going to take the oranges and we're going to put the juice in there. Okay guys, just a little helpful thing for you. If you have oranges or that with seeds in it, the best thing you can do is take your screen, juice it into a thing, and just pour over top. So that way you're not getting any seeds into it. Even if you do though, when you go back and you do the last process, you're going to be screening it again. But for me, the more I can avoid going in there, the better. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take 1 cup of warm water and we're going to take our wine yeast. We're just going to put it into the water. And this is going to activate the yeast. So we're going to let it sit there in the warm water. I'm going to let it sit for maybe 10 minutes or so and let it all start to soak up and do what it needs to do. I allowed my yeast to activate, so now I'm just going to add it in to the wine. And I'm just going to stir this in together, make sure that all that sugar and everything's all combined in there. Sanitized jar. And once this is all mixed up, the next step is going to be putting it in there. I am not going to try to pick up this big thing with my back the way it is. I'm going to do it the way I normally do it. I'm just going to do it a little bit at a time. We don't want to fill it up all the way because that activated yeast is going to do its work, and it's going to need space in there. So you shouldn't have it more. I'm actually going to dump a little bit out of that. You want it no more than probably about 75% full. I have the two jugs anyway, so I'm about to just go ahead and empty it out a little bit. And now there's not a lot left in here, so I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest in here. Okay guys, now what we have to do is we have to cover these with, let me go get it. I only have one airlock, so I'm going to push that in. And what this does is it allows all the air to get out, but does not allow anything to come back in, so anything round. And then there's actually a max on here and all that. This one we're going to do it just like I did my mango wine. Don't have to have an airlock. Do it the old-fashioned way. Put a balloon over the top. That's going to allow the air to come out, but it's not going to allow anything to go in. But you will have to, as it blows up, you'll have to lift the lip up a little bit and let some of that, the gases out. And you'll know that it's done with the fermentation. You'll know because the balloon will just be flat. There'll be nothing else going on. This one will kind of make like a releasing noise. You'll hear it kind of coming out. These need to go down there in the basement for about 6 weeks. And then after 6 weeks, we can go through and strain it several times to get out any of the chunks of little zest and things like that out. And then you're ready to put it in your containers and chill it and drink it. Now I will probably end up leaving mine longer than that because, you know, wine, it's the longer the better. So I'll put these down there for the 6 weeks, and then I don't know, I'll decide at that point. Maybe I'll try the smaller one and let the other one go a little bit longer and see how that does. So we'll see you guys in about 6 weeks. You'll see another video coming out. So I hope you enjoyed this this video about making dandelion wine. If you liked it, give me a big old thumbs up. If you've ever made it, put it down in the comments. I plan on doing some more dandelion wine. I want to do some with leaving the green in, leaving the green out. I want to get a fermentation thing with the wide thing, with the wide head on it. I don't have one of those, and that way you can actually put the whole pieces of fruit down in there, and I hear it infuses it with the wine and everything, and that's supposed to be really neat. So I really want to try that too. So but we'll see you guys next time, and sometime 6 weeks from now, so July sometime, maybe we'll have a wine party and try to taste our wine. So I'll see you guys.